Y'all, I love you. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Y'all, I have a special guest tonight. It's just going to be, I think it's going to change your life after you hear what we're going to talk about tonight. But I have my daddy, my father, y'all. This is my father, not just my bishop, but my father. He's going to be with us. And we're talking father stuff, y'all. We're talking about daddy stuff, and we're going to mix it with church stuff. But I want y'all to hear what the wisdom that he's going to share with us tonight. And it's going to be amazing. Pop, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's really a blessing to be here, man.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited about being here. It's just it's anticipation of all the kind of crazy stuff we could talk about. So I want to say hello to everybody. I see some of our folk on, so welcome y'all. Thank y'all for joining us tonight. It's been a great day.
Yes,
we
sir.
went to the range and did a little shooting.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm still good, but he can shoot, but I'm still good without my glasses.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, you killed today. Yeah,
No.
glasses,
Without my glasses. Without
Yes,
my
sir.
glasses. Yeah, without
Yes,
my
sir.
glasses. Yeah.
We got
So
to
it was
keep
good.
doing that. We got to do at least
Yeah,
once
we
a month.
did once a
Yeah.
month. Do a little shoot, you know.
Yeah.
And again, happy birthday. Gabe just had listen, he just reminded me of how old I am. He's 36 years old.
Oh, come on.
Oh, I wasn't supposed to tell it?
No.
Didn't y'all tell it yesterday, though?
No, nobody knows, but nobody knows.
What? Yeah, everybody knows. Anyway, okay, I wasn't supposed to say he was 36. I'm sorry. I wasn't supposed to tell y'all he was 36, but anyway, he's 36 years old. And but anyway, happy birthday to you.
I appreciate it, bro.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's good. I'm glad that we was able to kind of coordinate this around your birthday.
Right, yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing. Because I'm absolutely proud of you, man. You're killing, you're doing some great things, and you're being innovative. Podcasting and all that other stuff, man.
You like to set up?
I love this. And hopefully you'll be a millionaire and
Yes, sir.
write that $100,000 check.
Yes, sir. If you prophesy and speak over it, it'll happen.
Yeah. I was just here. We were just talking about before with the production team about the trajectory of podcasting and that kind of thing. This is and we were just talking about David Chan.
Yes, sir.
You know, and I remember when.
Yes, sir.
And now here's some of you guys are just shadowing him and look,
Yeah.
he's the man to shadow.
Yes,
so,
sir.
Yeah, it's been really awesome.
And
really awesome.
and he was not doing. He came to Rhema, and he had never done public speaking.
Wow.
Until he stepped in your pulpit.
Listen, let me tell you about the plug. Miranda and Monet was at the mall or something and met him and connected him. And then a few weeks later, he's at the church.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's just so awesome.
That's when he was doing Sleepers for Suckers.
Sleepers for Suckers.
Yeah.
And I still got a shirt and bands and all that other stuff. So, man, it's something about how people connect people and before you know it. And now he's what they call, he's blowed up.
Yeah.
He's out there.
Yeah, he's doing it.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your blow up situation though, Pop. I want to talk about yours.
Yeah,
I want to talk about some like real interesting and crazy stuff to even go public and talk about. I want to just kind of just, but I want you to just share with us about your journey. When did you? How old were you when you started pastoring then William Springs? How old were you?
28 years old. I was 28. Of course, young family, young children. You guys. It was 30. Actually, last month, January, May, 32 years ago, I started pastoring that church, and I had been preaching 8 or 9 years. So I've been preaching actually this year 42 years and pastoring 32 years. And so I was a young man, young and naive, thought I knew everything, you know, of course. And when you're in that age, it takes you a few years to realize you're as dumb as all get. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so that journey. And then it's funny, in the midst of all of the transitions, how wonderful and how blessed I've been to William Springs / Rhema, how wonderful they've been to me. A part of a lot of my regrets are more personal than they are ministry. You know what I mean? And so, but I processed it. This is the issue, because when you're 28, 30, 35, 36 years old, you are leading while maturing. You're leading while still having to be a husband, still having to be a father, or whatever your relationship status is. You're still having to go through all those things while leading people. And what happens, one of the things that I've learned from religion is it doesn't let you grow and make mistakes.
Wow.
Yeah. This is why so many of us as clergy lie, hide, cheat, if you will, because you can't make mistakes in religion. And it doesn't, and so you're living your life publicly, and you have to, and then when you because your body, your mind don't know you're a leader. It doesn't know that you're pastoring people. It doesn't know that you are, that the community is looking at you. It doesn't know. So you're going through all these.
Hold on, Pop. You said your body and your mind doesn't know that you are a public figure.
It doesn't know the position that you're in. It doesn't know that you're a public figure. It doesn't know that you're a clergy. It doesn't know that you're a politician. So it's going through its natural growth process.
But what do you say to a person that says, well, you're a clergy, you're a leader, you should know, you should have some type of ethical compass?
Absolutely. However, one of the things religion don't teach you is that a 28-year-old man who's a clergy and a 28-year-old man who is a regular man are going to go through some of the same things. Religion covers it up. We just learn to do it. We just learn to fail privately. Mm-hmm. We learn to fall privately. We learn to go through the maturing process privately, and it doesn't. We don't create environments that are safe for people to fall, get back up, and grow and mature. We call them the devil. We call them demonic. We call them dogs. We call her. We can't even say on the bandwidth what they call a woman, right, who has failure. Yeah. So she's a
right,
ho. Right. This is Facebook. Yeah. So you got a hoe that's just growing, and you got a player who's just growing, but they love God. And so in religion we just learn to hide. We learn to we teach. Religion teaches us to be phony, and so. But now that religious person has a husband or wife, children, family, a community that's looking to them for leadership and guidance. And so now I have to learn to manage through both of those worlds. So one of the things that you learn is that you realize, oh my God, one day I want to be free to be a person, a spiritual person who's human, having just as many experiences as anyone else who's not having that spiritual experience. So religion is a monster, brother.
You talked about personal regrets. I have so many questions. You were 28. I remember you telling me you asked. I was talking to you about relationships and all this stuff like that, and you talked about how you wouldn't recommend that a person gets married at 22, 23, 24 because they're having to take care of a family and they're still growing as a person. What do you say to younger people who are in relationships thinking about getting married, or they're already married, but they're 23, 24, 25, 26 years old? We know the pros and all that, but what are some of the cons to having the responsibility of taking care of a family while still growing in anatomy?
It's of course now you're abnormal and you're abnormal. Something's wrong with you. You're taboo. Why do we have so many, particularly single Black women who feel so whose self-esteem is so low? It is because we've made singleness dysfunctional and marriage functional. In other words, the only way that you can be celebrated is to be married. Or if there's nothing wrong with you, if you got a boo, if you got a boyfriend, if you got a wife, if you got a husband. And so therefore, just subliminally, the culture forces people into marriage too soon. Marriage is a wonderful, beautiful institution. It is to be celebrated. It is something to look forward to. But the issue is we force people in it too soon before their mind, their emotions, their body is ready for the responsibility of marriage. And so one of my regrets was getting married too soon.
And when did you get
Not it has nothing to do with the person now.
Right.
I'm saying in terms of I wasn't emotionally mature enough to carry the burden of marriage.
So how old were you when you got married the first time?
18 years old.
You were 18.
18 years old. You don't even know how to make your bed at 18. I don't even want to say what I really could say. Yeah. 18 years old, you're too young to be married. You don't know yourself yet. You don't know who you are. You don't even know what you like. You don't know what your purpose is. You don't know. You hadn't even started dreaming yet. You haven't even started. You don't understand purpose yet. It's not that the marriage was wrong. You were wrong.
Wow.
Now watch this. Marrying too soon is just like marrying the wrong person. Marrying before you know yourself. Marrying before, nothing wrong with marriage. Marriage is a beautiful thing. But marrying before you are emotionally, mentally, spiritually, if you will, ready is synonymous to marrying the wrong person. Because you can see, because love, we've painted the picture that love was enough. Love is not enough. You got to have skills to be married. The great Archbishop Kirby Clemens says marriage is for grown folk.
Yes, sir. You're
not grown at 18.
Yes,
you
sir.
just think you're grown.
That's right.
So one of the regrets is, and let's not even talk about the other side of the coin that is, Pastor Gabe, is that at 18 you haven't lived. There's some things that you haven't exhausted, some things you haven't gotten out of you, some things you haven't experienced. And see, when you start talking like that, everybody says you just want to go be wild. You want to sow your wild oats. Let's leave that alone. You're gonna sow your oats, whether married or single. Okay? I'm just talking about exposure here. Limited exposure, limited experience means limited answers. So how are you the answer to a husband? How are you the answer to a wife when your exposure is so limited? Because that's what marriage is about. Relationship is about not just marriage, all relationships. I go to a church because I'm hoping that church will answer some of my questions. I am in relationship with certain people because I'm hoping you're going to answer some of my questions about me, about us, about cohabitating, about socialization issues, about cultural things. We connect not just because of procreation. We connect because I'm hoping you're the answer to something that's missing inside of me. So relationships are not just simply we're just connecting because we're so in love with each other. If they don't answer some of your questions, you're in the wrong relationship. And at 18, you don't even know the right questions to ask.
Yes, sir.
See, so you need to live long enough to ask the right questions, to know what the right questions are. So part of that is where the regret is, where it lives in the realm of too young, too immature. And so now, if it hadn't been for my father, Ned Odom, if it hadn't been for people like Reverend Merritt navigating me through my early 20s, oh God, I listened to some of the stories you tell about our relationship as a son and a father and et cetera, and the amount of influence that I have on you and Victoria. That's God's grace, and that's Ned Odom, and that's Reverend Merritt.
Yeah.
And this the other thing, they didn't give me, Gabriel, too many choices. You and I didn't give y'all choices.
No, sir.
You got a name to live up to. You got something that you going. So, but a lot of it was I was winging it. And because of those stable voices in my life, I did the best that I could.
So what?
In the midst of regret.
Yeah. So what is? So I'll never forget this. I'll never forget this. I came downstairs.
What happened? Tell me what happened. Remind me of something crazy I said, I'm sure.
I came downstairs and you were eating a sandwich and chips.
Sandwich and chips.
And you said, Gabe, sing me a song. And so I started singing, I think I started singing Jesus Loves Me or something like that. And get this, you started crying. I was a teenager, I was young. You started crying. And then I finished singing the song and I walked out. And I think I asked.
Cry.
And I asked Mom maybe the next day or something like that, what happened? And she said that you found out that you had been betrayed by another pastor friend or something like that. I want to ask you this. We talk a lot about church hurt. People walk around talking. I don't go to church now because I'm church hurt. Something happened. How much hurt have you experienced in 30-something years pastoring people?
Oh, it's a volume. It's a book. You can't even articulate it all. The amount of people who walked away without a word, the amount of people who you poured into and poured your life in, and they choose other people to honor. The amount of people who left, lied without all the information. And Theodis Drake said to me about 15, 20 years ago, he talked about pulpit paranoia, pastoral paranoia, how all this hurt make you paranoid. And people wonder why clergy, this is good because your pastor is not distrusting because of you. He's distrusting because he's seen you before, meaning you're a different face, same person. Different face, same hurt, potentially that he might pour into you. She might pour into you, give their life to you, pray with you, walk you through a death, walk you through a hurt, walk you through your divorce, walk you through your relationship issue, and you walk away. He's scared. She's afraid that you're going to repeat the same hurt. So a pastor like myself, in a 32-year period of time, you can't even adequately count it. You stop counting. It's almost like war. You stop counting the deaths. You stop counting the wounds. And you learn, and then someone says, you know you can't be bitter. That's religion. You got to accept the people that come in and walk away and leave you. They say all these things to you. When shepherds bleed and we hurt and so with all that's being said, sometimes the regret is ministry. And sometimes people wonder why you don't get so close to them because it's fear. It's the paranoia of, are you going to hurt me like the last person? This is why clergies are not hiders. We are scared, afraid, fearful. Yes, you learn to balance it all. But we've had so many people who got in our heart and betrayed that confidential thing they found out about you. Don't let a joker find out something about you now, and he or she get angry with you. This is why often clergy don't get close to people, because number one, they don't know if you're going to get angry one day and betray what you discovered about them. So when you think in terms of hurt and regret, many times that distance that you might feel from your leader at times is not because of you personally. It's a touch of fear, a touch of paranoia, a touch of And this is one of the things a famous preacher said here recently, talked about, we found out during the pandemic even the more, the trauma, the mental and emotional trauma of leaders. Part of that trauma is through the pandemic, hundreds and thousands of people have walked away from the church. People you fed, people you made sure their lights were on, people you made sure their mortgage was paid, their rent was paid, people you walked through their crises, people you covered people that you knew of their immorality, you knew of their failure, you knew of their adultery, you knew of their homosexual relationships, you knew of all these things. They will betray you as soon as they discover something about you. This is the thing that I learned through my unfortunate divorce, is that the church approves of adultery, but disapprove of divorce.
A divorce.
They'll know a leader is cheating on his husband or wife, but they will alienate you once they know you've gone through a divorce. Am I making sense here?
Yes, sir.
That's the hypocrisy, and that's the pain. I can't tell you how many leaders who you know about their personal lives, you know about their challenges, who alienated me because I wanted to be integritist. Sometimes a divorce, we don't see a divorce as being integritist. Being honest with yourself, honest with the person, honest with your family, that maybe there's a breakdown here.
So what have you gone through personally since? How long ago was the divorce?
6, 7 years ago, something like that. 8 years maybe.
What have you gone through personally, just as a leader, since the divorce? Because I think sometimes people think when you get in that pulpit, you look so powerful and you're not affected by it. Have people walked away since you become divorced and
walked away? They stopped preaching you. They stopped.
When you say stop preaching you, what do you mean?
I was itinerary. I am itinerary. I go a lot of places. I go all over the world preaching, and that decreased a lot.
Did membership decrease?
Membership, your local church decreased. People walk away. Sometimes people walk away a little later.
Wow.
And then sometimes people migrate back when they find out that you didn't die. They find out that you wasn't going to go under, because people start prophesying, they start dreaming, they start having these dreams, you're going to become this, that, and the other. And they never thought if a leader had a secret sin that God could have killed them then. But
right.
You know what I mean? But my point is that you asked that question, I think is very important, because I think, and I need folk who love their pastor, is that your pastor is a person first, not a pastor first. And I think sometimes I had to deal with God and myself, because most of the time people didn't know God didn't have to judge me. I judged myself. I had guilt. I had shame. I watched people walk away without ever knowing what truth it was, and had an opinion about something they didn't even know the details of. And so when you think in terms of the pain of so, Lord, did I do the right thing? And oh my God, don't let an ache come in your body. Don't let sickness come on you. And something like that. You start saying to yourself, oh God, you're judging me. You're killing me for this. And so on top of everyone's opinion, many leaders have to deal with this kind of stuff privately. I'm not the only one. You'd be surprised of the shame, because you feel like a failure. And so until you get a revelation of God's forgiveness and God's redemption and God's love, but that there's that season of torment that I went through as a pastor, because I felt like a failure. And it's funny, and everywhere you go, you're reminded of a decision you made, because either people treat you funny or treat you differently, or they start handling you different. And so that was a very, very interesting season in my life. But and people don't know. They don't know that you're crying on the inside for the storm. And at that point, it may have been your fault. It may have been a decision you made. It may have been all that don't even matter, because you're feeling the pain of it. And so I think one of the things that I learned through that is that David says, Lord, create in me a clean heart, renew in me a right spirit. And somewhere in that same psalm, David said, it is you that I've sinned against, and you alone. I see the revelation of why David said that. Because if you leave your future to people, they'll leave you out of the future. People will exclude you from the future. And it's been recent, the last couple of years, because people really expect you to leave the scene. They expect you to die. They expect you to lose. You'd be surprised how many people. Gabe, one of the things is that when people want you to lose anyway, they don't want you to win anyway, or they had issues with you winning. And this is why leaders so often hide their lives, because they know they got enemies out there who would love to find out something horrible about them. And they'll be shooting for your demise. Have you felt like that? Have you felt like those very people could be in your church, members of your church? If they were, you always got a Judas. If they were, for the most part, it's funny. For the most part, 80% of my warriors from 20 years ago are still with me. It's funny. I don't. If they felt some kind of way, which in my mind is natural. If I had a pastor that was going through something public like that, I would have questions. But I was just watching some of the names that's coming up on the screen. Some of these people have been with me 25 years. 25 years. No lie. 25, 30 years, people have been with me. Children that are with you, their mothers and grandparents are with me right now and didn't walk away from me. They stayed, they stuck. In spite of what somebody may have said, they watched me go through it. And I think that's what gave me hope. That's what gave me. And so in spite of what the enemy may have wanted and some few enemies may have thought, everybody didn't walk away. And see, let me tell you something, Gabe. The enemy will let you focus on two people when 250 stayed. Yes. And the reason the two become so loud is because they may have been a part of your leadership. Gotcha. Or may have been a part of your intimate team. And he'll magnify that in your mind. And that's what kills your spirit for a while. It must have been this. It must have been that. Because they leave. They don't ever tell you. They just leave. They just disappear. Wow. And the pain of that. But I can't say by the grace of God, and I don't know if I've ever even, I think I did one time, I don't know if I even said to our great people there in Albany, Georgia, Raymond Word Cathedral, how appreciative of I am of folk who stood with you, prayed you through. It didn't mean that they didn't love your mom or love me. It had nothing to do with loving one more or the other, but they believed in me in spite of a hiccup in the road that I have. This is what I really believe real people and real leaders need for one another. I had a few people who alienated me and distanced me because of whatever questionable failure that I may have had. But for the most part, folk prayed with me, prayed me through, loved me through, and continued to love me as a shepherd and a pastor. And I can't tell you of one situation that somebody that was in my inner circle treated me like I was taboo, or if I said something to them, questioned my authority in their life. I never felt that from any of my inner circle.
So have you had people to disqualify your wisdom and your authority to be a pastor, especially pastoring married people? Let's say there are married people in the church. What do you say to the married people in the church, or the newlyweds, or people who are coming looking for a pastor that's married and they find out you've been divorced? What do you say to that group of people that's saying, you can't pastor me or my family or help me be a better husband or wife because you have been divorced? What do you say to that? And have you had those experiences?
If I have, I'm not aware of it, but I'm sure subliminally I have had the experience. I'm sure I'm at the place now that I'll recommend couples go to a counselor. That's number one. Number two, if you want my help and you believe I can help you, I'll help you. But because again, religion don't teach failure is a teacher. You know, we don't have enough books on failure.
Jesus Christ.
We don't have enough books out there that help people understand. See, because I know too many people who are successfully, ceremonially have a marriage certificate for 30 and 40 years and sleep in two different beds.
Yes, sir.
And we call that a successful marriage.
Yes, sir.
Because people, and they will go in public, us been married for 40 years and have not had sex in 20.
Yes, sir.
Haven't been together in 25 years. So my point is that if someone has failed in relationship, there's a lot they can teach. A lot of things they can say to you. They can say to you how not to fail. They can even, and if we're honest, we can even tell you the mistakes we made. That's a teacher. That we need to write more books on failure.
You said, I have questions. You said there are people that can, when they get mad at you, pastors are afraid that when people get mad at you, you may go and tell something that they know about you. How have you navigated through knowing that there are people in your church, they know some of your personal issues, and how do you trust people with you as a pastor? I know people trust us with their stuff, but how do we learn to trust the people with our humanity?
Well, what has happened, the older I get, I've obtained, and this is no slight on anyone. Number one, I'm limited on who I share my life with now.
Gotcha. Yes, sir.
There's no one but a few people who are mature enough to handle you.
Gotcha.
Okay, it's just that simple. They keep proving it. It's not that I'm making it up.
Right.
As soon as you trust somebody, you know, I found somebody I can trust with my life, they'll disprove that.
Yes, sir.
So at the higher you go, right, you don't change up at the mountaintop. You have no time to be proving relationships at the mountaintop. So you take a young man who's been pastoring going on 8 years, you're evolving, God has anointed you, things are happening in your life, you're proving people now. So by God's grace, if he continues to elevate you and move, you don't start proving people at the new level.
Gotcha.
Because people generally just can't be trusted. Always know this, that kingdoms are destroyed not from without,
but from within.
From within. And usually it's because we trust the wrong people. We started making, because we get excited, we get, I'm gonna meet new people, I meet new people, great. But you're very cautious about who you let into your inner circle. This is how people, because this is very important for many of y'all to get, particularly young people. When you go to the mountaintop of success, you only have a 4 to 5 year window now where you're the talk of the town. in that 4 to 5 year window, you don't make new friends.
Explain that.
You don't bring new people into your heart.
When you are at that place.
In that window, when you're at that place. Absolutely, because that's dangerous. That's the time where you're making a difference. Your influence is at the highest it probably will ever be. You know, boom. Everyone has a window. I'll never forget, Juanita Cribb said this years ago. That window where it's happening for you is usually a 4 to 5 year window. We forget that Jesus had a window of ministry for 3.5 years. Then he disappeared. You don't really want the window to be longer than 3 to 4 or 5 years.
You don't want it to be
You
longer.
don't want it to be. When it's time, when your window closed, it doesn't mean that you're no longer successful. It means that it's somebody else's turn.
Now that's a lot to unpack, Pop, because not this culture. This culture wants to reign, forever. We want to be kings, and we want to be kings forever. Why are you saying that you only want that level of visibility for a few years?
Because it's impossible to live without some drama coming out on you
for 15
20
straight
20
years.
years, 30 years. Yes, absolutely. You're not meant to be that visible for that long. You're meant to take the level of influence that God has given you, bless him with it, honor him with the influence, help people, open doors for people, make the money that you're going to make, whatever that looks like for each individual, because it looks different for each individual. And when it's somebody else's turn, anyone, based upon my observation, because we like popularity, but we hate longevity.
Yes. I'm sorry. Go. Yes, sir.
See, we like popularity, and we'll get inundated with the popularity, and the popularity takes us out. And therefore, longevity is dismissed from our lives. If you want to live long, if you want to have the long influence, if you want to have a long reach, if you want to make effective difference, if you want to really make the difference in the world and please God, you got to come from the front of the camera, so to speak, and have that. And when God says it's time for you to be in the shadow, boom. This is why mentorship is so important. This is why pushing other people is so important, because there comes a time when they're not going to call your name, but you'll have the honor and the respect.
And if you stay too long, you risk the chance of losing all of the honor and respect.
Absolutely.
Because your humanity eventually is going to be...
We forget that Jesus had major exposure for 3.5 years. Only 3.5 years. Not 30 years. For 18 years, he was hidden. From the time he went to the temple at 12, and his mother and father went looking for him. And they said, well, where are you at? He said, well, I've been about my father's business. But it wasn't his time yet. And for 18 years, he was in obscurity. For 18 years, there's nothing recorded about him. For 18 years, from the time he was 12 to 30, we really don't know, other than he was under the tutorage of his Joseph, his father, as a carpenter. And then from 30 to 33, he's delivering, healing the sick, raising the dead, demonstrating the kingdom of God, showing us ministry. And then he said, now I'll disappear forever.
Wow.
And we still, 2,500 years later, we're
talking about him now. So, Pop, you said this to me a couple of weeks ago. You said, I said, I'm not an entrepreneur. This is what you said. You said, I don't want to ever hear you say you're not an entrepreneur. You said, any person that can pastor is an entrepreneur. And you started telling me how I'm an entrepreneur. Why did you say to me, because I said this, I'm not an entrepreneur because I don't have businesses. You said, I don't want to ever hear you say you're not an entrepreneur. And then you went on to explain how I am an entrepreneur. Beyond the podcast, all that stuff. Why did you say that I am an entrepreneur?
Because I heard my dear friend, Pastor Lorenzo Hurd, which is a pastor's pastor, talk about that pastors who have the ability to inspire 100 people without a pay. Maybe entrepreneurs need to take some lessons from the pastor. That it's one thing to go to a company and work and have the incentive of a paycheck.
Yeah.
But the power and the ability to inspire people, and they don't have a tangible return other than emotional empowerment, spiritual empowerment, family empowerment. That person is entrepreneurial. That person has an entrepreneurial spirit. And to be able to, if you don't, I'm not a mathematician. I don't handle budgets. Miranda handles my budget.
Right.
Pearl helps with the finances. Kesia helps with the social media. I'm not any of those things. The ability to hire your weaknesses and to hire the right people is entrepreneurial. What? And then hiring entrepreneurial people who understand, because entrepreneurial people are people who can work with limited supervision, plan with limited supervision. So a successful pastor is an entrepreneur. He or she knows how to manage people, work with people, inspire people, encourage people, and set people on fire to say, I want to fulfill your vision without pay. So maybe if you got a pastor who's successful and effective at what he or she does, maybe you need to sit down and take some entrepreneurial classes from your shepherd.
Man.
Okay, you walk on a complex like Encounter Church or Rhema Church. Rhema, shout out. You ride up to our property, the grass is cut. That's entrepreneur. You walk in the lobby, it's clean, it's sharp. That's entrepreneur. You go to the bathrooms, you can eat off the floors. That's entrepreneur. You got land that's paid off, property that's paid off. How did you do that? Maybe entrepreneurs need to find out. You got people on your payroll. That's entrepreneurial. You're touching your community. That's entrepreneurial. So it's not just a ministry. It's an entrepreneurial ministry that has the ability to inspire people into their greatness.
So you ain't just no preacher on Sunday.
Absolutely not. Not in the 21st century.
No. Keep going, Bishop.
Not in the 21st century. In the 21st century, there's a grace on you to do multiple things. But watch this. We're not the first. Prophet Elijah, y'all remember the story. The woman had lost her husband. And the debtor or the man had come to the house and say, hey, your husband left a bill.
I'm taking your boys.
I'm going to take your boys with you. He says, well, is there some oil? Is there some vases? What's in your house? Blah, blah, blah. Here it is, a prophet who there is no record that he was quote unquote an entrepreneur. He had business sense enough to put an entrepreneurial plan together in her life.
So she can pay off the debt.
Not
a miracle sign or a wonder, and a strategy.
She listened to the prophet, and the prophet gave her a strategy, and she was able to live for the rest of her life.
So why?
So he's more than a preacher.
He's more than a preacher. So why don't we have today's entrepreneurs? Because this is a new phenomenon. It's a wave now. Why are we not coming to the pastor with what you just said? Why are we not coming to the pastor and asking for strategy for their business?
Because it's changing. Because for so long, people have seen us as just, oh, he's just a preacher. He don't know nothing about money. He don't know nothing about T-shirts. He don't know nothing about this. He don't know nothing about that. He don't know nothing about, and they don't put two and two together. They don't ride up to the property and say, if a man or a woman can do this, he might have a little sense. He might be able to teach me a thing or two. Okay, let's take David Shan. Shout out David Shan. Let's take a David Shan. I saw him in his very beginning almost. So it's smart to sit down and say, how do I become a social media phenomenon? Because I saw you do it.
Right.
Boom. So that's tangible. You can see his morph.
Right.
You can see how he morphed and has done great things. But a lot of times people don't see the preacher. They just see him as, he's the one to make me happy on Sunday. He's the one to, he or she just make me feel better. They see you as a drug.
Oh.
But they don't look at your kingdom.
Oh.
It is the great Apostle Tudor Bismarck says that a man's facility,
Yes.
a man's business, you go to his man's facility. He said, when I go to T.D. Jakes' church, I want to know about his wisdom.
Yes.
When I go to, he called all these different powerful people's churches and says it is a mark of their wisdom. It's a reflection of their wisdom. It's a reflection. So when you sit down and talk to a person, maybe everything can't be tangibly seen. When you ask the right questions, whatever accomplishments that they've had, it's a mark or a manifestation of their wisdom. So when you ride up to like what God is doing here, it's a sign that somebody got a little sense. Because you can't watch this. You can't manifest certain things and hold on to certain things without wisdom. You cannot manifest certain things and hold on to certain things without wisdom. It takes a little wisdom. It takes a little sense. Because my dad says, Ned Odom says that you can get to the mountaintop, but stay in there.
That's the key.
That's the key.
How have you, okay, it's getting late now, Paul. Wow. Let me ask this question.
Oh,
I have 5 more questions. I'm
Five
sorry.
more questions. Let's.
How have you been so successful? How have you been so successful? Because everything that you just named, you possess. How have you been so successful as a pastor and a CEO?
I don't know how successful I am. I'm sure the dog is still in the kennel on that one. But if in fact I've experienced any level of achievement or accomplishment, one, I really try to talk to God about everything. At one time there was this era where people, you say everything's so spiritual. Everything's so spiritual. No, it ain't because I'm trying to be spiritual.
Okay, hold on, Paul. Because this question is so important for this generation. Is this Bishop talking, or is this Dad Victor L. Powell talking about your keys to success? Is this the Bishop talking, or is this the man Victor L. Powell talking?
Oh no, this is Victor talking.
Okay, so what are those keys to success?
Because if there wouldn't be a bishop, there wouldn't be, you know what I mean. Without they connected, you know what I mean.
You talk to God about everything.
Oh, everything, just about everything. Sometimes I probably remember my weakness is that I waited too long on some stuff because I'm praying. Not trying to be religious, because I just didn't want to get it wrong. That's one. 2, listening to the right people. Oh God, I honor my dad, great late Ned Odom, Reverend Merritt. Both of them are gone to be with the Lord. Archbishop Kirby, my colleagues, Nathan Bird, Lorenzo Hurd, Jimmy Sneed, and some of my inner circle people who have, because they've been with you so long, they have that wisdom. David, Miranda, Pearl, people who love you and have their best interest in terms of ministry. But as a person, it takes the same principle. It's principle, not different circles.
Yes.
If you're going to be a entrepreneur, if you're going to be a person, you got to have people in your life that you listen to. If you want to be successful, you got to have someone that you're accountable to. You just can't be all out here all by yourself. I know some people who are powerfully gifted, but unskilled when it comes to being accountable. They could be 10 steps higher if they would just listen to someone. So I think talking to God about most things, having the right people around you, asking the right questions. When I sit down and talk to Bishop Kirby, now we've been talking for 20 years, okay? And most of the time I can have 4 or 5 questions in my head riding up 75 that I'm going to ask him. And within 30 minutes, he answers them without me asking him. So generally, let's just talk. have conversation. But generally, I got a question or two that I want to ask him. So the right circle in your life, asking the right questions. And Pastor Gabe, as I end that answer, you and I have had this conversation over the years, and you've heard me say this, but I don't know if I say it publicly enough, that one of my concerns with leaders right now is the arrogance that you see in leaders, who almost suggest that they didn't have any help. Somebody helped you. Somebody gave you a shoe when you was walking around with one shoe, in principle. It's just those kind of things because recently, in the last 10, 12 years, my goal now is not to be popular, but to live and die with dignity and honor.
But is that an older man's revelation, or should that be all of our pursuit?
I think we've lived through a season where the ambition for success without the ambition for character. We see where that goes. It goes nowhere. It looks, there's 2 or 3 major people that I love, respect, and honor to this day. You can't tell me nothing about them. And I wonder why they're not here. Because success without character, or the pursuit of just being a kind, caring person, keeping the main thing the main thing.
Is social media playing a part on that?
Absolutely, because to some degree, I think part of the thing with social media, Pastor Gabe, is it's got so many leaders comparing themselves, and there's nothing wrong with learning, gleaning from other people, saying, "Wow, I think let's try that." Boom. Nothing wrong with learning, gleaning. That's healthy. That's good. But to compare yourself and forget that this is a beautiful studio. They could sit here and record you for the next hour, take it off of social media and edit it. That most of what we're seeing on social media is edited stuff.
Absolutely.
Wow. And it makes people look bigger than what they are, more successful than what they are. And then you got Susie over there, Mark over there, who's saying, I'm really trying to make it happen. I'm really trying to just, but what's wrong with me? And we start questioning ourselves. So I think the balance, the necessity of social media will never go away. But the balance of social media, I think we're going to have to find that and discover that. And I think we're slowly, with the suicide rate going up, we're slowly finding out, whoa, maybe we're painting the wrong picture about social media, and need to really, really, really start painting the correct picture about our struggle, about our process. It ain't always been this way. I was on social media and had $10 in my pocket.
Yeah.
Not looking like I'm a millionaire,
Yeah.
knowing you broke.
Yeah.
That whole, because somebody can look at you and you can look like you on top. And then at the same time, they thinking something's wrong with them. And they don't know that you're just trying to make it happen.
Yes, sir.
So I think that transparency and that truth will help somebody who's looking at a Gabe, who's saying, man, Gabe's on top. But to know, okay, yeah, we making it happen.
Absolutely.
We're learning, we growing. That we ain't achieved. We ain't, that balance of knowing that helps somebody who's on the upswing.
Last question. Wow.
Yes,
wow. Last question, and then I'm gonna let you go. What's the biggest mistake, or what are some of the biggest mistakes that you've seen happen with entrepreneurs right now? If you were in front of 1,000 entrepreneurs right now, what would you say? Hey, this is the biggest mistake I'm seeing you all make, and this is how you can correct this.
That comparison thing is one, but that's not the biggest. I think everyone's entrepreneurial journey or start ain't gonna be the same.
It's not going to be the same.
That's the mistake. I think we have too many entrepreneurs who drop their living totally.
Whoa.
And we almost give way to that struggle is a part of the, And so I think sometimes you have to be midnight burning. You have to burn the midnight oil and work your business at the same time. T.D. Jakes says it's similar to this. Don't start making demands until you are a demand.
Yes.
And I think sometimes entrepreneurs want to act like they in demand when nobody's ordered your T-shirt yet. When no one's ordered your livestock, or I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. And the first question I ask, you've had a couple assignments? No, not yet, but I really believe I'm gonna quit my job and just okay. So now, but no one's asked for you. No one. So my point is, God gives us prophetic arrows. There's arrows pointing to what you should be doing. There's signs that point you to what God don't just, so every now and then, yes, you step out onto eternity, into nothing. That's fine. Yeah. But that's not everybody's journey.
So everybody's process to entrepreneurship is different.
Now,
how do I know what my process is? How do I know if I'm supposed to be the entrepreneur that has a primary job? How do I know if I'm the entrepreneur that needs to step out on faith and say, I'm leaving my job and I'm going to build this? If you build it, that'll come. They will come. They be saying this in the Bible. It's not there. But how do I know that though?
Signs. Number one, okay, let me give you a perfect example. This is a true story. This is my story, true story. You were 1 year old, 2 years old. I just left the Marine Corps, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I was going to be, I'd had a dream or something. No, I had a 3-night revival just before getting out the Marine Corps. And a week or two later, I discharged out of the Marine Corps. I thought that 3-night revival meant that I was going to become a world evangelist. This is the honest, true story. I'm not lying.
Oh my God, yeah.
So I sat at home praying and seeking the face of the Lord, waiting on the next revival.
Yeah.
And it was a year or so later before I got another revival.
Wow.
So then I had to go get some of my money out of a savings account to live. But I had 2 children, okay?
Yeah.
Children. Y'all know what children is.
Right.
So there was no demand for my evangelistic ministry.
Wow.
So I carried myself and went and got me a job because I had 2 children and a family I needed to take care of.
Right.
So one of the signs to quitting your job or not quitting your job, there'll be a demand for your product.
Wow.
There'll be signs that'll say, we need your product. And you'll be able to look at your money and you'll say, whoa, I'm getting so busy doing what I'm supposed to do. And the money's coming in, the finances are coming in, your customers are coming in. That's giving you a clue to the fact that maybe it's time to make the transition. Sometimes this is why so many entrepreneurs struggle. They're living out of their entrepreneurial profit. There are many pastors, and I've said this for years, many churches are established to simply take care of the pastor, not to do ministry.
Wow.
Because we're entrepreneurs in spirit. You're making money just to give to the pastor. That's not a ministry.
Right.
So it's not entrepreneurial just for you to pay your rent. You're not paying, no. It needs to be producing at the level that you're able to take care of your overhead. You're able to take care of your products. You're able to all these other stuff and be able to put back into the business. And this is why so many entrepreneurs, every time you look around, they hungry. If something's going wrong, they don't have money to do this and do this because every little dime they make is paying their light bill. Every little
so it's not
yes.
so
there's no demand for who they are and what they are.
So I don't have to go through the struggling artist entrepreneur process. For example, Tyler Perry he worked for 12, he worked and saved $12,000 to do his first play, and nobody showed up. He sleeps in his car. Do I have to sleep in my car and be at the bottom to have a story of success about entrepreneurship?
Everybody has their own journey. Let me just throw that out there. This is the information age. There's too much information out there to live like that. You got too many people telling their story. You got too many, you can turn on the Instagram and go through a class. You can go on Facebook and go through a class, how to be an entrepreneur, how to get money. There's too much information at this point. Right now, this is information. Now, if you want your testimony, do what you want to do. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying you don't have to have that story. Now, if this is sad, but many people are entrepreneurs because they don't want to go to work. And they think that there's something glamorous about being an entrepreneur. This ain't glamorous. You have to have more structure as an entrepreneur than you do an employee or entrepreneur. And this is why we don't use this word entrepreneurial as much as we need to, because some people, their success is within the organization, someone else's organization, and becoming a supervisor, a leader, a VP in that, and helping other people find jobs and etc. You're an entrepreneur. You're successful as an employee. So I am saying that you can have that as a testimony. That's on you, but there's too much information now for that to have to be everybody's story.
Now, I have one more question, Pop. I got this question. So how do I know, you answered it, but I want you to kind of dig a little deeper there. How do I know that I have a product that I can literally step out on faith and go for it? Because I can be like, I had a dream, you had a vision, you had one. You were like, yo, I think this is it. How do I know?
For a whole year, too. Nobody calling me. Waiting to preach my next revival.
Yeah. How do I know that I have something that this is going to work? Not what I feel. I know for a fact it is.
There'll be signs with people. Number one, I'm willing to invest in your product. Number two, people are starting to ask for that product. They want that product. They want that product. Yeah, people are the sign. Product, people wanting your product is the sign.
It's the sign.
It's the sign. It's the sign.
Not your family and your church members, but people.
Because people will push you out to do something and won't buy from you. They won't even, have you shared my page? People, oh, you got a powerful ministry, but have you shared my page? Have you bought my product? So there are other signs. People are willing to invest in your product. People are beginning to spread the word about your product. There's this demand for your product, and people are willing to not just buy it, but invest in your product. One of the first things I said when I walked into the studio, how can I invest?
Yes, sir.
Because you see something and say, okay, boom, this is working. This is going. This is working. The other thing, when an entrepreneur won't go to classes, when an entrepreneur won't learn from other people, they're not ready to be an entrepreneur. They need to stay on the job. When an entrepreneur want to sleep till 11 and 12 and 1 o'clock and they're not making money, they're not ready. They need uncle who can tell them what to do, when to do, sir. Boom. Yeah, because entrepreneurs have to have a self-discipline. They have to be internally motivated, because at the first, when that thing's a baby, you don't have a whole lot of money being your inspiration. It is the dream itself is your inspiration. Now, are there stories out there where people stepped out on nothing and it became big? We know that, yes. But you better know that God is telling you that. And surround yourself with people who have done what you're trying to do.
Yes, sir.
Even if it's not exactly the same product.
Yes, sir.
But if you secure yourself, there's safety, the word says, in a multitude of counsel. So I think that demand, I keep going back to that word demand. There's a demand for you. If you say, I'm a motivational speaker, and no one's inviting you, there's no demand for you yet.
Yes, sir.
Yes, your demand really becomes a sign that it's time for you to shift and move in that direction. I really believe that demand.
How do you move on from church hurt? Pop, how do you move on from church hurt? How have you moved on from church hurt?
Stop calling it church hurt. It's life hurt. You got hurt. You got hurt everywhere. I've been hurt everywhere. My family has hurt me. I've hurt my family. I've got hurt on my job. I've got hurt in relationships. Hurt is part of life. There's no special remedy. There's no special. We do know there's special cases like molestation, violation.
Sure.
Most of the time when people are asking these kind of questions, they ain't even on that level.
Right.
Okay. It's somebody didn't speak to me. It's somebody didn't, they said something from the pulpit about me.
Yes.
Yeah, it's that kind of stuff that they can't even factually prove. You see. 2, if God gives you the opportunity to revisit a conversation with the person that you assume hurt you. Number 3, stop assuming that everyone who hurt you meant to hurt you, and everyone you hurt, you didn't. It was an accident. You know, it was intentional for them to hurt you, but it wasn't intentional for you to hurt somebody else.
Oh,
you
God.
gotta abandon that mentality.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you gotta abandon that mentality. And I think that's how I processed it. There's some people that walked away, Gabe. It wasn't even personally about me. It was their fear. It was their scare. It was something going on with them. That's what I'm learning as a shepherd. There are many shepherds that might weigh into this and listen to this even in recorded time, that not everybody that you assume hurt you meant to hurt you. It wasn't personal against you. Yeah. And if we as shepherds, the sooner a shepherd can catch that, the sooner the person who asked that question about church hurt can catch that sometimes people hurting us wasn't about us. It was about their own personal drama or journey that they were processing something, and we were affected by it, but it wasn't meant toward us. I had to come to that. And this is the other thing for any kind of hurt, because particularly African Americans, we got to stop being afraid to use the word therapy, counseling. Go get some counseling. Don't say you're not going to join a church because I got hurt over there at Mount Hebron, so I'm never going to join another church. Get some help for your pain so that you won't go to another group or another church and hurt someone else because you are hurt and wounded. I think that's very critical. We got to start encouraging people to get some help, get some therapy. And it's not a sign of weakness to get therapy. It's really a sign of strength to get therapy.
Wow. What's the next question, Chris?
The last question says, when scandal does break out within your church, how does one draw the line in the sand for repeat infractions?
There's no blanket answer for that, because whatever your mental, emotional capacity is, if you believe and feel like, okay, I can't take anymore, number 1, don't repeat what you don't have facts about. Number 2, don't poison other people if you have chosen to walk away. Don't feel like you have to take other people with you.
Jesus.
That was your personal journey, because for someone else, that's their spiritual line. That's their connection to God. That's where they're learning and growing. They may not even be aware of what you think you are aware of. We just assume because we all sit in the same room, we're aware of everything. What's big in your eyes may not be big in somebody's eyes, and they may not have the knowledge of that. So I think it's very critical. If you feel like you can't, quote unquote, take anymore, your family, pray about it, walk away privately, let your pastor know we're moving on, but go without scarring other people and taking other people with you. This is critical, because so many people assume what you're hurt by, somebody else is hurt by. What you can't handle, they can't handle. That's not your responsibility.
Jesus.
Yeah, because you might be right about something, but handle it so wrong, now you and God got to handle that.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's how I would handle that.
Wow. Pop, you are straight up in demand. You're in demand, like for real. Like I'm gonna say this publicly. When I tell you, like, now, you're way beyond the pulpit. You gotta go and you gotta talk to the next generation. I'm serious. Entrepreneurs, leaders, you have to. This has been phenomenal. I hope you enjoyed it, Pop. I did.
Man, what? Oh, mercy. This has been good. This has been fresh. Yeah.
Wow. Y'all, look, I hope you got something. Do me a favor, like, share, and tag it. Let everybody know they need to go back and watch this. I hope you got it. I hope you, man. Pop, how can we follow you on social media? How can we,
on Instagram, let me just go straight to it. Instagram is Victor L. Powell. Listen,
Pop, you gotta remember. You gotta memorize that.
Oh,
that was too easy. I thought you were about to say something real deep. You went to look up your name. He said, "Hold on, let me find my name."
Well, I just wanted to be accurate because I actually thought, because it's Bishop Victor L. Powell in terms of my name, but Victor L. Powell, you'll find me. You'll see my face. Yeah. Listen, I'm believing God before the end of the year that I'll have 4,000 or 5,000 followers. So
let's do it now.
Connect.
Let's do it now. I need everybody to go and do that. Go and follow what he had to look up. His name. Yo, I love y'all, man. Welcome to Bandwidth.